find your path to a life of integrity. This is the topic we're going to be talking about today. I guess for those who don't really know the type of content that I put out, it's usually across three things. It's based around getting your physical freedom back. There's a lot more that comes with that. So I try to break it up into a resilient body, information about mobility and strength and how the body works, why we get pain, etc. The other one then around anti-fragile mindset, a lot of different mindset stuff to help you on your journey of overcoming chronic pains and injuries, because it's so much more than exercises. If it was just exercises, everyone would be moving around like a ballerina. And the third thing then is around building an authentic life, because that's something that I really wanted when I was younger as well. And it's actually the biggest regret on people's deathbeds. If you can Google, top 5 regrets of the dying, you'll see biggest regret on people's deathbed. I wish I lived a life true to myself and not live the life others expected of me. So in that authentic life, this is where the topic is coming from today. So how to find your path to a life of integrity. Go through a bit of an intro on a story from the younger me of how I actually realized that integrity was important to me before I looked into any sort of mindset, self-development stuff. We'll go into then how to find your own path, like I said, and leave it with a few takeaways then at the end, 3 actionable takeaways that you can use. This is all based off the weekly newsletter that I write. I'll link that in the description below if you want to do the deep dive on it. This is just going to be a few of the main points from it. So yeah, I suppose my story starting off then, so I did door-to-door sales. Make myself a bit comfy here. So I did door-to-door sales back in, when exactly was it? Probably should have took down the dates. It was summer first year of college. So I started college in 2011. So probably 2011, 2012. It's like 10 years ago. So a long time ago. And my brother was the manager. That's how I got the job. And it was just for a summer, working there for 3 months, selling internet to people. So look, it was a great experience because I used to be very, very shy, very nervous, embarrassed to even put up my hand in class. And this obviously had to make me really put myself out there, So I think it is a really good job for anyone as a first job specifically, because everything is easier from there. Nothing I've done has been harder than 2 hours training in the morning on sales tactics and then like 8 hours in the field, knocking on 100 doors a day, getting rejected 97 to 100 times every single day. So it was really good for things like, being able to check your ego, not take things personally, and just learn how to be relentless. Like and not take failure personally. As I said, it kind of all rolls into one, but that's a skill in itself, because obviously once you start that job, it's not easy. And some people just quit in the first week because you're getting rejected. As I said, over the course of a week, you could have got rejected 700 times, so not knocking it, it is a good job to start off on. Don't know how people do it for life, but my story from this was when one day I was in an old couple's house. So I suppose for me, like I was okay to good at it. I was never great. I don't have that killer instinct of, telling white lies and lots of other stuff to kind of close deals. That's kind of where the story is coming from. So, I could get a few sales, but I was never by any means great at it. But once you get into someone's house, that's obviously a good sign. You're getting a lot closer to the sale. And I was in this elderly couple's house and they brought me in, I can't remember exactly, they made me a sandwich, or it was tea and biscuits anyway, and just having great chats and stuff, and must have been there for like an hour, and then kind of remembered like, oh shit, I'm actually here to sell them internet, I'm not here for the chat. So I had to come back around to that, and I had to get their phone bill and like break down the bill and show them the savings that they're going to be making and all the stuff that we were taught. But at the end of the day, when I'd done it all, they were going to save like €7 a month, and the main reason they had the landline was actually to call their daughter in Australia, to obviously check up with her, keep in touch with her every week. And with this UTV internet I was selling, I hadn't even heard of it before. And I was like, I don't know if this is going to cut off the phone calls or what's going to happen. So I was like, saving €7 a month and potentially cutting off calls to their daughter, which is the main thing. And obviously they're an elderly couple, they don't know anything about technology in general, and how it's working. So straight away then I was feeling a bit uneasy. I was like, just starting to feel like kind of in the pit of your stomach, just really like uncomfortable and awkward and just not sure what to do. And then the elderly man, he could see it was kind of crunch time. It was getting down to business now, to brass tacks. And then he got up and left. and I saw the elderly woman was like, I think his name was John. I was like, no, John, like, come here, sit down or whatever. And John's like, no, 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 I'll let you talk to the nice man there. I'm gonna go out into the room. And like, she was visibly uncomfortable with this. And then I was like, oh, Jesus Christ. And like, you know, I remember just kind of thinking like, if someone was doing this to my granny, I'll put their head through the wall. You know, like, if someone's in my granny's house and she's been so nice to them and helping them, and they're nearly forcing her into some deal that they know in their heart it's not a good deal for them. Like, fuck, €7 for, you know, cutting off calls to their daughter. So that was the kind of moment I was just feeling like, this isn't right. Like, just this isn't right. So that was this. You know, I just got up, and I obviously can't remember exactly, it's 10 years ago, but I just basically apologised and just said, you know, you're only going to be saving €7. It might cut off those calls to your daughter. I honestly don't know. Like, I don't know all those details. I'm just here selling the thing. So it's not a good deal for you. Like, you shouldn't do it. And I'm sorry to have brought it this far and made you uncomfortable. You know, that was never my intention or whatever. So that was it. I just thanked her, and then I left. And, you know, like, I didn't even know what values were at the time. You know, I didn't even know what integrity was. I'm only a young lad, like, what 20, 21, something like that, trying to find yourself and navigate the world. Like, so didn't have a clue of any of these things, but obviously just that kind of sinking feeling in my stomach and just feeling like shit. Like, what am I doing here? Like, that's what made me leave. So then, like, I left, and, you know, later on that day, was I telling my trainer or whoever, and, you know, was I called a pussy or whatever else, and I should have closed, and yada yada yada. But I used to really care what other people thought, but this was a kind of another turning point where I was kind of starting now to just realise that I don't want to be the person that this man is, who's telling me, like, you should have closed it. So, like, why do I really care what he's saying? You know, like, everyone else's kind of advice was starting to have way less of an impact on me, because they're not the person that I want to be. And I think that's what I had down here of, yeah, like, a great tip I got on taking advice from people was, does the shoe fit? Like, does the shoe fit that they're trying to give you, or is it more a mold of his foot? And if it's more a mold of his foot, it doesn't fit you at all, discard it. It's like that. It's not the person you want to be, so why even listen to him? And then, yeah, like, afterwards, what did I feel like when I came out of the house? And afterwards, like I felt relief, like, I felt peace, like, I felt proud of myself, you know, and I didn't know the mechanism and all the stuff about values and what was happening, but, like, that was enough for me, like, that feeling of, like, I'm doing the right thing here. And that was my first ever memory of coming across, things like values and integrity, and starting to realise that I think they're important in my own life. And the Jordan Peterson quote that I only would have read like 8 years later or something made so much sense here, because he would say, like, if you don't know what your values are, your conscience will point you towards your values. And that's exactly what happened. Like, I didn't know I valued integrity at the time, but that's what happened. The sick feeling in my stomach of doing something I knew was wrong. That was my integrity speaking up, and my conscience was letting me know from all those feelings. And then when I acted in accordance with the integrity and stopped the process and looked it up and left and apologized, then I felt relief and felt, you know, peace and proud of myself. So yeah, that was my first experience of it 10 years ago. It's going back a long way. So moving on from that, then, like, you know, how are you going to start realizing these things, finding your own path to integrity, whatever that's meaning to you? As I put down here, it's life experience. It's going to be life experience and listening to your conscience. That's how it's going to happen. You know, the analogy I was using there is like, if you're like, I don't know what my values are, I don't know what integrity means to me and the way I want to act, you need to go out and start living life, you know, putting yourself in different situations, like work-wise, relationship, all these other ones, and your conscience is then going to guide you to your own integrity. Because if we're not getting life experience and we're not really doing anything, it's like saying, oh yeah, you know, I want to drive a car, I want to get really good at driving a car, but yet you never get behind the wheel even once. Do you know, you have to just get out there, start doing things, and then once you are, your conscience will start guiding you towards the values and the integrity, just like in the example I was given there. And yeah, like, for some people, it could take one experience for you to realize, it could take 100. You know, it's going to be individual for everyone, and it's going to depend on when you actually make that decision to delve into it. You know, like, I'm sure there was loads of moments before that sales example, because that was a kind of extreme one of, like, you know, it was so, what would you even say? Like, it was just such a kind of important moment that was really exaggerated. Like if I've kind of forced this woman to sign the paper, it was just so visceral and real there that like I'm forcing her to do something she doesn't want to do. But like I'm sure there was lots more subtle things before that in my life where I was acting against my integrity, but I never looked into it because the feelings wouldn't have been that intense. Do you see what I mean? So could take one experience, could take 100, but whenever you kind of finally have your tipping point of something big was happening there, like why did I feel those intense feelings, and you start to introspect and look into them and see what they mean for you, that's when it's going to change. And yeah, leading on from there, like I've loads of other examples then. Like once I had that realization that look, integrity is number one for me. It's not making an extra, what would it have been that day, €50, €100, whatever. Like integrity is what matters most to me. And then going forward in my life, I was able to make decisions through my integrity now rather than through money or getting positive praise from others and all these other things that we naturally act out of when we're younger. And like other jobs I was in, like a different job, was work to the bone, but I stayed there because it was a great experience. And I was a recruiter, I was able to climb the ladder quick enough because the people above me were all quitting because we were like understaffed and weren't treated very well in terms of salary and things like that. But I was like, look, I'm only young, it's decent salary for me and I'm getting lots of experience. But like, long story short, at the end of that, I was meant to get a salary increase and it didn't come for 3 months. And every month I'm asking the manager, like, I'm taking on the extra responsibility, I'm being worked to the bone here, I'm doing all this stuff. And I've a lot more responsibility dealing with the higher managers and taking all their shit. And one of the most stressful times in my life, Jesus. And I'm still not getting paid for it. You know, I'm just being led on and not getting paid for it. And then, you know, through the integrity thing, I was like, I'm leaving. So then eventually, just like everyone else, is like, look, I'm quitting, doesn't matter. I'm going to go. And then they offered me a couple of thousand to stay for like another 3 weeks. I can't remember the exact details. Was it 1,000 or it was like 2,000 maybe to stay for 3 weeks or something? Doesn't sound like much. It was a lot of money 10 years ago to a young lad. But again, same feelings in my stomach. Like, I'm being taken advantage of here. I'm not being treated very well. You know, what matters more? A bit of cash or, you know, my own integrity? Same thing. Said no and they were shocked. You know, I'm like, this is it. Like, I don't care about the money. It's not about that. It's about, you know, the way I'm being treated and acting out of my own integrity. So that first example from the sales really showed me who I want to be, and it was much easier to navigate then going forward in my life and acting out of ways that are making me proud and content with myself and at peace, and not, you know, feeling like shit because I did something and then afterwards I'm like, oh, I knew I shouldn't have done that, well, whether it's for money or anything else. And yeah, another random quote there. I'm keep an eye on the time, 12 minutes left. Small tangent here, but another kind of value there, you know, of not just being the nice guy, you know, being someone that can be kind to people but a strong man as well, and setting your own boundaries. You know, that was something I realised was important there in that specific example. So you'll pick up like what integrity means to you, but then other values along the way, because I used to be a complete nice guy, pushover, thinking that's what a good man is, like if I just let you do what you want and be nice and make sure you're happy. But that's a naive view of the world. Like you'll go through it yourself. That's not what a good man is. Like, again, I love the Jordan Peterson example of that a good man isn't a harmless man. A good man is a dangerous man who has it under voluntary control. So look, you could talk about that in terms of physicality. Like this is the truth. If you weren't capable of violence or ever willing to do violence, those who are, you'll always be at the mercy of them. And like, that's just a fact. That's, you know, another topic. And that's part of the reason why I do martial arts and I do strength training, is I want to be able to protect those I love, whether it's my future family, my current friends and family, etc. If a robber or someone else did come along and try and attack them, if I wasn't capable of violence and willing to do violence, he'll do whatever he wants. And that's just a fact. So I know that might be a bit of a grim view, but that's the harsh reality of the world. Like, I listen to a lot of war podcasts and expose myself to a lot of the harsh realities of the world, maybe more than the average person, so I'm well aware of these things. And like, saying that, I've never been in a street fight in my life. I don't want to be, but it's the same approach as mobility. Do I want to focus on mobility and try and prevent injuries from happening, or do I wait until I get injured and then be like, shit, I should have done mobility? It's the same in that example there. Do I prepare myself to be strong and well conditioned and learn jiu-jitsu and other martial arts for self-defense reasons and hopefully not have to use them? Or do I wait until something bad happens and just by chance I'm attacked, or someone in my family is attacked and I don't know how to defend them or myself, and then I only start jiu-jitsu then? Do you see? It's just being proactive with it. So that's a little bit of a tangent there. And then, yeah, the last thing I kind of had on it was that the conscience is like a GPS. So you probably would have got that, but just to say it in black and white, your conscience is like the GPS. So you go out there, We've different life experiences. You can feel the emotions and different things that are happening, and it's that conscience that will be like the GPS towards your values. Okay, so just like the sales example, the conscience was the GPS towards integrity and just doing the right thing. Like morally, just doing what you think is right rather than trying to make a sale or show the other lads how cool you are because you got loads of sales today. That was the example from that. The other example in the other company was, about having to be a strong man and stand up for what I believe in and look after my own needs. And I can still be kind, but not being the pushover, not being the nice guy, letting people walk all over you. And the same, like I gave with the physicality example again. Never been in a street fight. Hope I never will be. But if it comes to it, I'm ready and prepared to do those things. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And I had the last line there. Like you can pick out countless examples. You can continue to ignore them if you want, or you can dive in and uncover the truth that you're avoiding, the person you want to be but aren't. Dun dun dun. But it's so true there. Like we'll all have those feelings. There's definitely loads of other examples I could pick out. I won't go into it now because time is running away from me. But there'll definitely be examples. You can think back on them. Think back of examples where you were acting in a certain way. You had the conscience was letting you know you were getting the kind of sick feelings. Like you knew you should have acted in a certain way. You didn't for numerous reasons. Then afterwards, you've regret and you're feeling like shit and different things. They are the moments you need to hone in on, analyze them, and see the conscience. Where was the GPS pointing me? What should I have done? And then that's the person you're going to try and work towards in the future. And once you actually do act from that integrity, from the values, you'll feel the difference. You'll know straight away. Like once you start acting through your own integrity, the feelings are completely different. And then it's going to be much easier to do that going forward. Okay, so leave you then with 3 actionable takeaways that I had on it. So we would have covered these, but just to kind of state them out. So first one, if you don't know who you want to be, where can you start? You can start with who you don't want to be. It's a much easier way to get started on these things, because for lots of this stuff, it's so hard. Like, what are my values? Who do I want to be? All these things. We've no idea as a young lad. So instead of that, flip it on its head. Okay, who do I not want to be? That's the easiest place to start. Oh, I see your man there, sales job ripping off old women and stuff. I don't want to be like that. Cool, you have a little bit of data. You don't want to be immoral, basically, and you can see where that's going to lead. So that's the easiest way to do it. So I said start with noticing behaviours that you don't like. Your conscience is going to guide you there, and then reflect on those and use them as insight into what integrity means for you. And the best analogy here that I have in the newsletter, think of it like a marble statue. Instead of you having to build a marble statue from scratch, it's easier to get a big block of marble. Just start chipping away at it. Start chipping little bits away at it, and then as you go, you underneath it is going to start to take shape. Okay, so much easier way to get started on this stuff. Second one then, analyze the values of people you admire. This is another, wouldn't even say hack, but another kind of tip to see, like, what does integrity mean to you? What kind of values do you hold? When you admire other people, subconsciously, some of the values that they're showing, that's what you want. You have them in yourself already, or you wouldn't be able to recognize them, but you want more of that. Okay, so like a few of my examples, someone like Jordan Peterson, the fact that he's just able to speak his truth, and look, I'll agree with some things, won't agree with others, whatever, but the fact that he can just get up there and speak his truth, even in the last interview we done there, was it with Piers Morgan, like, where he can, and he's getting emotional and everything because look, all the flack he's getting, but just the fact that he can say, like, through his own integrity, his job is to speak the truth, to try and help people in this world and not worry about the outcome. Not worry about what might happen to him or his family or anyone else. And that's look at all the consequences he's getting now, but just the fact that he can say, look, I'm going to speak my truth and I'm not going to let the outcome change that. If the outcome was like, oh, I'm going to get loads of flack and etc., he's still sticking to his truth. So that's the stuff that kind of rubbed off on me. I'm like, I that's what I'm kind of doing now. I just want to be able to speak my truth, not worry if people mock me, whatever. Just speak my truth. Other people like Jocko Willink, following his stuff for years, like discipline equals freedom, and taking ownership of his life and all these kind of things. So they're things that I valued and I wanted as well, and through following him, I was able to understand that and start incorporating them into my own life. So that's right down there. Like, yeah, you unconsciously aspire to be like people that you follow, and you can use this to lead yourself to your own values and integrity. And then on to the third point. So it's start acting out of integrity. Obviously, we need to actually start doing it now. So, I had a little question there, like, would you be doing the same thing if no one else was around? It's not going to be fully accurate. I could even argue against it right now, but that's just a kind of quick thing. If you're in a group of two friends and a third friend comes along, do you just act totally differently because this other friend is here? What's that? Just start thinking about these different things. Like, what way would you act if you're on your own or you're around your parents? Just start thinking of these things and be like, am I changing? Like I said here, like, am I living from integrity and my values, or am I conforming to other people's expectations? We've all done it. As I said, I was the nice guy. Act differently around everyone and make sure they're okay and just try to be nice to them and be a pushover and stuff. So you can just think of that yourself. This is what's going to bring you closer to your true self, like acting out of your own integrity, your own values. This is the best way for so many different reasons. Like, first of all, if you think you're helping other people, being nice to them, you're not. Like, to help anyone else, we have to help ourselves first. This is where, the analogy of when a plane is going down, do you put the mask on everyone else? No. Put the mask on yourself first. You can't help anyone else otherwise. And another analogy of a cup that helped me as well is like, you can't keep pouring from your own cup into everyone else's. You'll be left with nothing. You need to have your cup so full that the overspill is what's going into everyone else's cup. Okay, so two little analogies there that help me around that. And like, even when you're true to yourself as well, you will connect with people a lot better that align with your values then. And we've all been in those situations, hanging out with people where you get those kind of feelings again, like, maybe I shouldn't be here, I don't really agree with the conversations and different things, but you're staying there, for all the other stuff when we're younger, like the fear of judgment and all these other things. So better steer towards the end here. The real life example then, so I always like to put in a real life example, usually from a client here around the stuff I'm talking about, to kind of put a concrete, example of it from someone that isn't me. So this was just around like the coaching. Like, if you're going to get coached by someone, make sure it's someone that you align with their values. I've been coached ever since my first mobility coach. I've had about 7 or 8 now over the last 5 years, maybe, over mobility, like strength coaches, business coaches, kind of mindset, self-awareness coaches, all these people, and I've learned so much. But I follow them for a while and make sure I align with their values, and that they have integrity, and they're not doing things like mainly for money. They really want to help people, and they've a lot of good experience themselves, and they've got good results with themselves and also with clients. And that was the example of Diarmuid, like Diarmuid Brady. We get on really well, we'll still chat to him. Sometimes we met up a few times. That's what he said. So we get up his review here. Yeah, he said Mark was the best person to guide me through the process of transforming my training and internal life. When he's going on, he's better understanding of exercise selection for specific goals, assessing injuries, a roadmap where he wants to go with his training. So Diarmuid, not my usual client, where he wasn't coming from a place of chronic pains and injury. He was more, if the spectrum of physical freedom is like injury over here, he was more trying to go towards his true potential. And I have clients like that as well. So it was mainly strength training and just helping him with other things around kind of productivity in life. And he was in college as well, and just helping him with all of that stuff. We had a lot of good chats around stuff outside of training, but Diarmuid was a beast. He's actually stronger than me on some different things, like weighted pull-ups. Did he get a 40 kg weighted pull-up and a few other things that he was able to hit through the coaching as well. So that's just an example of it there. Look, am I saying it has to be me? No, whoever you resonate with in terms of values, and you have that connection. Like, I followed so many people and I'll feel such connection from them before I sign up, because I just feel like I know them, and from all the free content and stuff they're putting out, I can just resonate with them, and I know it's going to be a good fit, and I know like I will get results that they're talking about if I put in the work myself. So I think that's pretty much it. Everything, just about 2 minutes left before the camera cuts off. So I'll put if you want to delve into that in more detail, click on the newsletter in the description underneath. It goes into a lot more detail and there's more examples. I'll put Diarmuid's review in there as well if you want to read it. And I think that's pretty much it. Any questions or anything, you can just reach out to me. You can reach out to me on Instagram. It's probably going to be the best place. And if you're finding these useful, please subscribe. So I used to not ask that, but I mean, how else am I going to grow the channel? Just subscribe to the channel. It's going to be the easiest way to spread it, and obviously share with anyone else if you think it's going to be useful to them. Okay, cool. Thanks for watching.